because we requested 3 originally, and Mr. O'Leary suggested the 4th one, and I think that's where it brought everything to a head. But another thing is, with all the signage for the police to enforce, we were told that the police can't enforce it because they don't have the proper equipment to be able to enforce trucks. So how can they pull over trucks if they're not properly, they can't enforce it? It's been brought up by the state police, trucks, the trucking team, and we had a meeting here where we approved funds for them to go to training for it. And I don't know if that's ever been completed.
Chief, can
That has not been completed. Actually, there was a training planned. State police backed out of it for funding sources. As far as the equipment goes, he is correct. As far as the enforcing the weight limits, we don't have the equipment. So essentially, that's why we call it the state police. They do it, they have a full-time unit, and I don't anticipate us purchasing that because you have to be trained in its use as well.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mr. Prisco?
Just quick. Can you execute managing the truck exclusion if it goes into place?
Yeah, because it would be,
Let's just say,
Sure.
if it's not Chestnut Street any longer, but trucks are going down that road and one of your patrolmen witness a truck going down that road, can they take action?
yeah, because under the DOT, there's, they define the weight by the type of truck, so we would be able to enforce it that way, just by our experience on what type of truck it is.
I think you've misunderstood the question. Mike is saying if a truck is going down a street that it's excluded, can you enforce that by stopping them, ticketing them for traveling on a marked road?
Yes.
Takes the size of the truck.
It's all based on the tonnage of the truck. You know,
Correct.
my pickup truck's
Oh,
three-quarter
I
ton.
see.
I can go down that street, but the truck exclusion should have a sign of nothing more than a ton or whatever it is.
The state would legally give us permission to enforce that.
Correct.
So we would have full legal authority to.
Okay.
So the
I didn't get
patrolman
what you were
would witness that, you know, a 10-ton truck going down that road, that does not meet the truck exclusion, he's pulling them over and giving them a ticket.
Correct.
There's stopping a truck for speeding, truck going to places not authorized, and then they're stopping them for deficiencies like
Correct.
4 brakes
That-
overloading.
we know we can't do
That's
that.
the 2 issues. Stopping it just because it's speeding, you can do that.
Correct.
If it's going to an incorrect place based on the signage, we can touch it, but the other aspects of the trucking, that's above us.
That's correct.
So you're still going forward with the 2 speed tables, or 3 speed tables?
We're going to make a decision this evening as to what.
Another vote tonight? All right.
Rita?
Can we finish hearing from the other people who are gonna make the presentation, and then I'd like
Sure.
to speak after they.
Mike, do you have anything to add to what Dick has laid out for us?
I mean, Dick and I have been going back and forth on this for, the last few months. My direction from the board would be exactly what limits of Chestnut Street would you be looking for the exclusion? From Central to Haverhill, or from Park to Haverhill? I think it makes a difference for Moynihan's operation.
Well, trucks, local pickup and deliveries are authorized. That doesn't get excluded as part of it.
So if we were to go forward with a truck exclusion that would say 62 to Haverhill, it wouldn't affect Moynihan Lumber.
No, the signage would have to be, would say local delivery pickups or opens and Monahans. There's signage that it would be legally
Has to be
authorized
specified.
for their suppliers and their customers. So that is signage.
That's all.
Thank you, Mike. Mr. Glad?
Doug Lab, 130 Chestnut. As my understanding is speaking to engineers that handle these types of things, the one that had written the original study that the town had cited, first, they're not going to give us 62. It's a routed highway. They're not going to, the state's not going to approve a truck exclusion on Route 62. Second, you can have multiple, as others had mentioned, you can have multiple options for them, but you have to cite 1 or 2 that are specific from where you stop it to from either end of where you've excluded them. So they need an answer of how to get from Haverhill Street to the other side of Chestnut. And that's the route that they're looking for to get around. To tell them that they can go from 93 onto 128 to get to where they're going, the state's not going to be concerned with that. They're going to be concerned with how do you get from the edge of 62 and Park Street to the other side of Haverhill. And so I think on the exclusion, so that we get the answer is, yes, that's the route that they can go as an alternate route to what we're excluding, and let the truck drivers and everybody else figure out that it's a lot faster to go the other way and not sit through, 4 o'clock traffic, 5 o'clock traffic to try to get down 62, or in the morning traffic trying to get down there, and then they'll go around on their own. But as the exclusion, as far as I understand it, it has to be for that one little triangle, how are they gonna get around?
I think you should.
Chief Murphy?
We had met DPW Director, the Town Administrator, myself, and the Fire Chief last week, and out of that meeting, we were recommending that education enforcement plus installation of temporary island, as presented by the DPW Director, is what we came up with as a plan. I do not oppose a truck exclusion. That's not what I'm here to speak about. The traffic calming, when I suggested the raised crosswalks, it was just one option that we would like to explore. Essentially, the meeting that we had, and I'm not sure if things have changed since because of the emails that have gone around, but was education enforcement plus installation of a temporary island road narrowing and one speed table in the vicinity of Chestnut Street by Mr. Foster, Mr. Lab's home, and monitor and evaluate every 30 days. That was the option that I had coming out of that meeting, and I agreed with that and support that. But I also support,
That's the alternative I gave you guys, minus one speed bump.
That's right, but
Right.
it seems like your alternative that you proposed is different tonight than what came out of that meeting.
A lot of things have transpired in 3 weeks. But the thing the chief's speaking of is 4 alternatives. One is just monitor enforcement. The second one is that alternate 3 I gave you guys, part of alternate 3. The third option would be all of option 3, and 4 would be put in the 4 speed tables. So we have the alternate 3 to do it all together or do just part of it.
But my understanding is Chief Murphy's understanding coming in this evening that the alternative that was being proposed by the town officials was the once raised crosswalk, the road narrowing, and the other traffic enforcement.
correct,
That's what I thought. That's Okay.
correct.
Okay.
That's what we discussed.
Hybrid of
That's exactly
alternate
what we
3.
discussed.
Anything else, Chief?
I would be, I'm not sure how the speed tables got painted out. I did speak with Dick. I would certainly be opposed to the one past the DPW. It just doesn't make sense, doesn't meet within the requirements. And I would defer my opinion to town engineer and the DPW director, but it seemed that caused a lot of a problem within the neighborhood and where they were actually placed, the raised crosswalks.
Let me ask you this, when it was originally marked out, I think it went from in front of Monahan Lumber to Rita's house, or to her next door neighbor, if you're looking at her house to the left. I think that's where it went. What,
I was not involved in the markings. Essentially, I wanted them to go where the current crosswalks are right now.
Right.
And I had not been involved in where they were placed after the fact. But I certainly, that caused a lot of uproar within the neighborhood itself and kind of changed some of their direction. But I completely agree with them. They will cause noise. That's why I think the road narrowing may soften the noise issue. We're not sure if it was gonna work. I think the idea was to put some sort of temporary mock road narrowing in, to see if it actually worked by putting reflectors, and see if it worked. And then maybe, go another route as well with the truck exclusion.
I have a question for you. There was, one of the gentlemen got up and said, thought it may cause some sort of safety issue for those that are on sidewalks. Did you,
I brought that up as well. I raised that concern. DPW director assured me that there was enough roadway width that it wouldn't cause a problem.
if we, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Dick, what are you talking about leaving, if you go with the strip, what are you talking about leaving for width on the street?
Mike, can you answer that? You can answer if you,
Because-
you may know that, or that's tough, you.
The street width where we're proposing the lane narrowing is 27 feet to 28 feet. We're looking at narrowing the two lanes to 11 foot each.
So you're taking 5 to 6 feet in total.
Yeah, from
Sidewalk to
face
sidewalk.
of, from face of curb to island.
Okay.
From face of curb to island, 11 feet on each side.
Right,
For
okay.
22 feet.
Which,
from the-
which isn't that big a deal, because oncoming traffic is separated by the strip.
That's
If-
right.
If you don't want to live, you don't want typically less than 12 feet if oncoming traffic's coming at each other.
Correct.
Thank you.
Someone way in the back.
I think I want to hear from the fire chief first, and then everyone will have a chance to speak.
I have one for the chief, though.
Oh, I'm sorry,
Just
Michael?
one for the police chief. There's
You
been
have
a
to
lot
go
of
back.
discussion about the speed limit.
Yes,
Can you just explain this for us and clarify this? It's posted 25.
Correct.
But I've also heard that it doesn't really meet the law or the bylaw, or I don't know what particular law that I keep hearing. So can you just clarify what the deal is with all that?
well, it's posted 25, we enforce it as 25, it's held up in court.
Okay.
So as far as I'm concerned, it's enforceable. I know that, may not meet the requirements now, but
What
as far as
requirement?
Well, they could explain it a little bit better.
There's a DOT requirement of speed, called speed zoning.
Okay.
You do a traffic study like we've done, and you take statistical, a certain amount of what the speed is, and that kind of sets where it should be. A street of that kind, just like your driver's ed book to my daughters, street of that size would be 30 miles an hour. That's what it typically would be.
Okay.
Apparently, somebody must have done something to get it from 30, what it would be without a study, down to 25. Right now, the traffic study we did, though, did show that the bracket, I think that's one of the emails I sent, is most of the traffic's in the 28 to 32 mile an hour at both locations. And the average speed for both watched locations was almost 27, almost 28 miles an hour. So we're kind of in that range of 25, 30 miles an hour.
As long as it's enforceable and it holds up, that's all I wanted to know.
Yeah, and in reality, it's certainly, the speeds are a lot higher in that roadway. When we're there enforcing, certainly the speed limit is reduced by the driver, but if I'm in there with an unmarked car, we were there the other day viewing it, and they were going by us at about 40 miles an hour
Yeah.
consistently.
I would think
We
that's
measured
the
the
average
top
speed.
of the hill, but where the speeds are going past one and lumber in the park, it's much higher there. I think everybody agrees to that.
Straight over.
Straight.
Chief, just state it, the woman in the back, I just caught her, she has a question for you, that's why I'm asking her. Rita, I'm not taking her out of turn.
Hawaii.
Anne Marie Witzel, 147 Chestnut Street. Thank you, Chief. My question was, did I hear you say that you were not opposed to the truck exclusion? Would that be your first recommendation, or is your first recommendation all the other options that you referenced? I just wanted to get clarity, because I thought I heard you say both.
Well, to exclude the trucks, I think that's the ultimate goal, that the road narrowing, we would use that as a tool to try to have them avoid the area and slow them down. I'm not opposed to a truck exclusion.
Okay.
However, I don't know where the ultimate dumping ground, so to speak, would be for the trucks. And that would be something that I would have to speak to when I see the final plans.
So would that be so would truck exclusion be a first option, and then the others an alternate option?
Well, it all depends on where the
Trucks have
exclusion is going to be
right.
sent.
So if you submitted first and then found out what the outcome of that was from the state and the DOT,
Well, I think it would be
Actually,
submitted,
all these traffic calming alternatives are more designed for speed abatement, not trucks.
Okay.
My research into speed tables they are not very effective at making trucks go somewhere else. They're very good at speed reduction, narrowing the speed reduction. But for trucks, no.
Okay.
That's not their primary use.
all right.
and I guess to answer your question, I would have to see the final plans before I would make a recommendation on the actual exclusion. But I would certainly support it, because that's the ultimate goal, is to stop the effects of what the trucks are actually doing, the speeding, the noise, the fumes.
Okay, thanks. I think there was just a little confusion, at least from my perspective, because I agree that we came in and we talked about the truck exclusion, then we began to talk about other traffic calming measures, and you said, geez, it seemed like the options presented might have been different than you thought were coming in. So we had that same confusion and just wanted that clarity. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else for the police chief? Right now, I'll bring up Chief Warnick, Fire Department. Congratulations.
Yes,
Are you identified?